Stocks bounce on Wall Street in a volatile trading session after a two-day sell-off. Key indices rise over 1% each as the White House delays tariffs on automakers compliant with the US, Mexico, Canada agreement by a month. Asian markets are largely higher following a strong close on Wall Street. The GIFT Nifty for now is suggesting a flat opening for our own markets. Crude prices fall to a 6-month low after declining for 3 straight days. Brent is now below $70 a barrel on trade war fears and reports of the OPEC planning to raise output in April. Gold prices have surged, supported by a weaker dollar, which is also down to a 3-month low. Tesla has leased a 4,000 square foot showroom in Mumbai's Bandra Kurla complex as it readies for its entry into the Indian market, suggests a report by real estate analytics firm CRE Matrix. The 5-year lease came into effect in February, with Tesla shelling out 36 lakh rupees a month in rent for that property. And the Reserve Bank of India has announced another tranche of liquidity boosters. The measures will include a $10 billion buy-sell swap and an open market purchase of bonds totaling to 1 lakh crore rupees. Multiple positive triggers to watch out for on this weekly options expiry session. Good morning. You're watching Power Breakfast on CNBC-TV18 in the Mumbai News Center. I'm Hormuz Fatakia. Let's first take a look at how the Asian markets are faring. And it's a positive start after the kind of handover that we had from Wall Street for most of the indices. The Hang Seng continuing from where it left off in yesterday's trading session, another 2% higher, continuing its outperformance that it has had since the start of the year. The Taiwanese index, though, is a bit of an underperformer, trading below the flat line. Gains coming from Japan as well. The Nikkei is up 0.7%. The Shanghai Composite is up 0.5%. The Kospi too trading with gains of 0.6%. So it's a largely positive screen across the Asia Pacific. And pull up the GIFT Nifty as well. That'll give you an idea of how our own markets are likely to start off after yesterday's bounce. A 30-point uptick, they would take that after yesterday's bounce, where the bulls will be looking to build on to those levels that we saw in yesterday's trading session. So for now, a positive open is what the GIFT Nifty is indicating for our own markets as well. Starting off with the handover from Wall Street, which was a positive one. The benchmark indices ended higher, fueled by hopes of tariff concessions. The Dow climbed nearly 500 points. The S&P 500 surged 1%. The Nasdaq also adding nearly 1.5%. CNBC's Steve Koak gets us a wrap of all the action on Wall Street.
U.S. markets were up across the major indexes in Wednesday trading, rallying into the close after President Trump pressed pause on tariffs for the big three automakers. The Dow popping 486 points, the S&P 500 was up by 64 points, and the tech-heavy Nasdaq was higher by 268 points. One day after imposing blanket 25% tariffs on all products coming into the U.S. from Canada and Mexico, the White House said today that President Trump would give automakers a 1-month exemption on those tariffs. The decision came after the president spoke to CEOs of the so-called Big Three, that's GM, Ford, and Stellantis. And private employers added just 77,000 jobs last month. That's according to payroll processing firm ADP. It was well below the consensus estimate of 148,000 and the smallest job increase since July. But there were some bright spots, including gains in leisure and hospitality, professional and business services, construction, and financial activities. That's what's happening here in the U.S. Back to you in Mumbai.
Now, tariffs and their impact are still the major talking point for economies worldwide, as there is a lot of uncertainty hanging over the global equity markets. CNBC's Steve Leisman takes a closer look at the debate of the economic impact of a potential trade war.
To hear President Trump tell it in his State of the Union address, higher tariffs will be part of U.S. economic policy for a long time. But what about their impact on prices? Conventional wisdom suggests their price impact passes through the system, raising prices one time without sparking wider inflation. Another side of the debate, however, worries that tariff inflation could be longer lasting because inflation now in the U.S. is above the Fed's 2% target, and short-term inflation expectations are also elevated. Tariffs can reduce productivity, and companies now appear to have pricing power. Ben Amons of FedWatch Advisors writes, quote, "Businesses are far more attuned to passing costs today because they have pricing power compared to 2018, when inflation was weak and consistently below 2%. In fact, Adam Posen from the Peterson Institute tells me that protecting domestic companies with tariffs can give them more pricing power. Big national companies, he says, who have protected markets tend to get fat and lazy. New York Fed President John Williams said that much of the tariff cost, as far as he understands, passes through to the consumer, and inflation can hit months later when intermediate tariff goods are included in finished goods. The inflation effect will depend, he says, on how long, how big, and what products are affected by tariffs. Futures markets are generally embracing the conventional wisdom of a benign tariff effect on inflation, allowing the Fed to cut rates. 3 cuts are now priced in for this year, one in June, September, and December. That's a sign traders think growth and not inflation will be the Fed's driving concern. But all the Fed can do is wait and watch to see how price hikes work their way through the production system to the consumer. The Fed got burned last time by signing up for Team Transitory on the last round of inflation. It might be more reluctant this time to take that view on tariffs. Steve Leisman, CNBC Business News.
And on that note, let's also listen to David Zervos of Jefferies, who says that stagflation and tariffs should not be as important as we make it to be.
Definitely not a buyer of that story. Don't believe, as I think we've talked about many times, that the tariff story is really the big driver. The big driver for me is the dereg story, and even more importantly, the smaller government footprint story, or as Secretary Bessent likes to call it, the reprivatization story. I think that's a huge productivity win, a huge positive supply shock, ultimately disinflationary and great for growth. And I think that's really what the big picture focus should be on. The tariff story is just not nearly as important as we make it on a day-to-day basis.
But on the other hand, former Boston Fed President Eric Rosengren believes that tariffs are highly inflationary. Listen to what he said.
Tariffs are likely to increase prices for many goods that are affected by the tariff. And in some instances, while we have a 1-month delay for autos, you could easily imagine that autos are not only going to be subject to the tariff tax, but they're also going to have supply constraints as the difficulty with their logistics become problematic. If you're thinking about foods and vegetables from Mexico that haven't gotten an exemption, you don't keep a large inventory, they're perishable goods. The result is that the flow through to those price increases is likely to be relatively immediate. But the bottom line is that I think firms are going to be expecting to pass a lot of the prices along to consumers.
That's all we have on the global market front, but how will all of these cues impact our own markets? Our research team joins in with how the trade setup looks like and the stocks that are likely to be in the news today. First up, Vinny joins in to get all the market cues we need to watch out for. Vinny, good morning. Finally, a session of green yesterday. The bulls will look to build onto that. What are the cues you're watching out for today?
Absolutely. An interesting session that came in yesterday. Nifty managed to close with gains of around 254 points, up almost more than 1%. Sensex 2 up more than 1%. And snapping its 10-day losing streak, all the sectors actually managed to go home with the gains. So that was a good sign coming in. Now, when you look at Nifty Bank, that was the one which you could say underperformed relatively because it closed with gains of 0.5% in trading session. HDFC Bank and IndusInd Bank was some bit of a drag that came in for the Nifty Bank. FIIs, though, we saw that they continued to sell. 10th consecutive trading session of selling coming in from FIIs. Yesterday, they sold around 2,895 crores. DIIs continued to be buyers and bought around 3,370 crores in yesterday's trading session. Now, key to watch out for today. Overnight, we did have those announcements coming in terms of Trump tariffs and his decision that auto tariffs on Mexico, Canada would be delayed by a month. Do not forget, we'll keep an eye out on the Indian rupee. Yesterday, it ended stronger by 31 paise and closing at around 86.86 rupees to a dollar is what we were watching out for. Now, as of now, this is weekly Nifty expiry as well today, so keep an eye out on that. RBI has announced some fresh OMOs and forex swaps to boost liquidity, so that could be some of the factors that one is keeping an eye out on. Nifty implied open as of now is indicating a bit of a muted start for the Indian market.
So building on to that, it was almost 20 points higher when we started the show. It's now 35 points higher. Vinny, thanks a lot for that. Over to Vamakshi now with the stocks you need to watch out for today. Vamakshi, good morning. What's on your list?
Well, good morning, Hormaz. Let me first start off with Zydus Life Sciences. The company has received the final approval from US FDA for dasatinib tablets. IOL Chemicals is another counter that we'll be watching out for, and that is because EDQM has issued a certificate of suitability for the company's API, Keisha Pine Fumarate. Keep in mind that this certification will enable the company to export this API to European countries as well as some other countries that accept CEPS. RPP Infra Projects will be another counter we'll be watching out for. They've bagged orders worth 81 crores from Chennai Metropolitan Water Supply and Sewage Board. LIC Housing Finance, keep an eye out for that one as well. The board has approved borrowing budget of up to 1.22 lakh crore for FY26. TCS is the next counter we'll be watching out for. They've partnered with Europe's Vantage Towers to launch a digital service platform. This partnership will enable them to streamline service processes for property owners, enhance retention for Vantage Towers across Europe. Wipro also on our radar. They've launched Telco AI 360, which will be enabling them to transform operations for telcos by leveraging AI. Route Mobile also on our radar. Proximus Global, which is the promoter company of Route Mobile, has decided to partner with Nokia to offer network APIs. And lastly, keep an eye out on Galaxy Surfactants. They've entered into a strategic collaboration with one of its global customers for providing EPC services. They are also in advanced stage of discussions to enhance this collaboration post-commissioning of this plant. So those are all the counters you need to watch out for.
We keep an eye out on all of these names. Ramakshi, thanks a lot for that. Lastly, Mangalam joins in with cues from the FNO space. Mangalam, good morning. Finally, some bounce, but the question is, will that sustain? What's the FNO data indicating?
Well, yesterday was a good trading session. It was led by the Nifty IT index, and at the same time, we had the broader markets which did a lot better. So if you look at, the mid-cap and the small-cap indices, there was a big bounce, which was actually something that we had been seeing over the last couple of trading sessions already. The important part, the FIs, where they sold about 2,900 crores in the cash market, that selling was a lot lower than what we've been seeing on an average over the last few trading sessions, about 30% lower out there as well. If you look at the Nifty and the Nifty Bank futures, there was an open interest reduction while the markets were going higher, and that was telling you that there was short covering. The data confirmed that. The FIs bought about 410 crores in index futures, and they covered about 1,000 short contracts as well. The bigger short covering, however, happened in stock futures, where they unwound about 27,500 short contracts, and that was telling you that the broader markets may continue to do well in today's trading session as well. Ahead of expiry, the FIs have wrote more puts than calls, telling you that the support is far stronger than the resistance on the way up. And large part of the up move yesterday was also because call writers at 22,200 and 22,300 were caught on the wrong side, and they had to unwind their positions. Those options come up for you on the screen. Importantly, the 22,350 call is still active, as is the 22,300 put. So ahead of weekly options expiry, option writers are positioned for a range of 22,240 at the lower level for the Nifty. On the way up, 22,420 may prove as a bit of a resistance. So keep an eye out on this range for expiry today. Broader markets likely to outperform.
Broader markets likely to outperform as they have been over the last couple of days. Mangalam, thanks a lot for that. Time for a short break. Up next, reports suggest that Tesla has leased a showroom space in Mumbai as it prepares for its entry into India. Details on the other side. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Now, in a much anticipated move, Tesla has signed a deal for its first India showroom to sell imported electric vehicles. Parikshit is joining in with more details. Parikshit, good morning. What are you picking up here?
Well, yes, we're hearing, and this is from a real estate data analytics firm CRE Matrix, that Tesla has actually leased out a 4,000 square feet space in BKC in a mall. And the lease is effective from February for a 5-year period. They are going to be paying 35 lakh rupees in rent. They've taken some parking spaces also on rent. This is for charging infrastructure. And in the lease document, it's very clearly stated that this space is being taken on rent in order to display Tesla cars in a showroom. We also hear that they have possibly taken on rent a space in Worldmark Mall in Aero City in Delhi. The details of that are not yet known, but the fact that things are moving so fast as far as their showroom operations go, it only goes to show that retail operations for Tesla could begin very, very soon, this year itself. We're also being told that they're looking to import cars from Berlin and sell them in India. And the latest information that we can share with our viewers is the fact that Tesla may make an announcement on India along with their launch of their low-cost car. The launch of the low-cost car from Tesla is imminent. It could happen in the next few weeks, and the India launch could be announced around the same time.
Interesting. Lots of developments surrounding Tesla. Parikshit, thanks a lot for that. But in a candid response, JSW Group Sajjan Jindal says Elon Musk cannot be successful in India. Speaking to Shireen Bhan at the EY Entrepreneur of the Year Awards, he dismissed Elon Musk's chances of dominating the Indian market.
Elon Musk is not here. He is in the US.
But he's likely to come. He's likely to come if the
He can't be
duties are
successful in this country.
Why
I
not?
can tell you.
Why not? Why can't Elon Musk be successful in this country?
Because we Indians are here. We are here. He cannot produce what Mahindra can do, what Tata can do. Not possible. He can do under Trump's shadow. He can do in the US. He's super smart. There's no question about it. He's maverick. He's super smart. He's doing this spacecraft and stuff like that. He's done amazing. So I have nothing. I don't want to take anything from him in the sense that he's too smart. But to be successful in India is not an easy job.
Sajjan Jindal there in a very candid conversation. But moving on then, the Reserve Bank of India last evening announced more measures to infuse close to 1.9 lakh crore rupees of liquidity in the banking system. The RBI said that it would go for open market operation auctions to purchase government securities worth 1 lakh crore rupees in two tranches of 50,000 crore rupees each on the 12th and the 18th of this month. Additionally, a dollar-rupee buy-sell swap auction for $10 billion with a tenor of 36 months is also scheduled for the 24th of March. Well, that'll keep all the banking stocks in focus today, along with the NBFCs as well. So keep an eye out on those names. We'll take a short break. Up next, we get you cues from the commodities market. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back, and Manisha Gupta now joins in with all the updates from the commodities page. Manisha, good morning. Crude prices continue to slip, but what else is on your radar today?
Well, yes, the crude prices are now at a 3-year lows, and we've seen prices decline below important support levels as well. The U.S. crude inventories rose. Markets were anticipating a 1.5 million barrels of an increase. We've seen 3.6 million barrels of a build-up in U.S. inventories, and that's weighing on. Well, apart from that, it is the OPEC and allies looking to increase production, the U.S. tariffs, the retaliatory tariffs. All of that does not augur well for the global demand, and that's weighing onto the space as well. The weakening energy demand, the slowing global economic growth expectations is what's weighing on. But on the other side, the commodity that really has done the best for itself clearly has been copper prices. 5.5% of gains for copper in the overnight markets. With that, it's trading at a 9-month highs right now. The possibility of U.S. tariffs on copper imports has led to this increase. In any case, we are trading on a premium when it comes to U.S. copper prices vis-a-vis London and Asian markets there. The copper prices have gained up by 7% in past month and have continued to gain up in Asian markets yet again today.
Oh yes, copper is the one to watch out for. Manisha, thanks a lot for that. And of course, crude oil price fall keeps all the oil marketing companies and stocks like ONGC in focus as well. But with that, it's a wrap on this edition of Power Breakfast from me and the team that put this show together. Thank you so much for watching. Bazaar Morning Call sets you up for the weekly options expiry trade.